Hello there. Welcome to JagaVision episode 102. I'm Jared Nyberg. I'm your host. We are wow. Yeah, again, 102 weeks of doing this, so I'm always floored by that we've been able to have such amazing guests on the show. And if you're watching right now, and if you want to go back in time a little bit, you can click on some of our archived episodes on our YouTube channel. You can check things out there, and you can yeah, just have a little bit of a walk through, I guess, memory lane at this point, with some people that are live from Japan, live from China, live from India, here in Canada, industry folks, people that are just doing really interesting projects. We've had some really good shows. So if you want to go and look on our channel there and check them out, that would be amazing. Click like on the ones that you like, and we can build up that. I guess I would just have so many awesome talks with these people that I've learned so much, and I just really love to share some of what I've been learning with you who are watching right now. So please, yeah, go and check them out. All those past episodes. We're gonna have a really exciting show today, though. I talked about it last week. We're gonna have the folks from the Doke estate, out in Bihar, India, join us live. So that's really great. There was a little bit of a mix-up on the time. They thought that we were starting an hour ago, but they're gonna make it work, and they're gonna join the call. So I'm really looking forward to it. We're gonna be talking. I've been really sort of interested in this whole idea about how to sort of qualify oxidation. So I'm looking forward to having them, yeah, to join, and talk about that. So okay, I think we have them on. Rajiv, is that you? Are you there? Hello? Oh, I thought I saw them join, and then I'm not seeing them join. We'll see. Hey Mew, do you think you could raise the camera up a little bit? It's just cutting off the top of my head. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, maybe I can move this back a bit. Or something like that. There we go. Cool. All right, thank you so much. Okay. Yeah, so they joined me there for a moment. Oh, there they are. Okay, awesome. Hello. Hello. Is that Vivek? Hello? Hello?
Hey, how are you?
Oh, hello. Very good. How are you doing?
Good, good. I
Awesome.
was just telling them, yeah, your shop looks like a rocket engine.
A
Space
rocket,
station.
a space station. Yeah.
Yes.
So, no, that's awesome. Yeah, we have a lot going on in here. We're having a little bit too much fun.
Hi, good evening. This is Rajiv Lochen, and we are from Darjeeling. That's the northeast part of India, the tea growing area, and we are associated with something new in India that's called Bihar. I was just writing a piece of history today that about 150 years ago, that's 1912, this Bihar portion was taken away from the Bengal, and
Oh,
after that, an accident happened. One very big bridge was taken away because of the earthquake, and that particular parcel of land was cut off, and it rotted for about 50, 60 years. After that, government came to us, and then they wanted us to develop. We put up tea. That's how tea came up in Bihar. So we'll talk about it later on, but let Vicky introduce himself.
okay. Vivek.
I'm Vivek Lochin. I look after the sales and procurements for Lochin Tea Limited and also for Doke.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm often talking to you. That's
Yeah,
when we're talking about these yeah, these lovely teas that you guys produce over at Doke, and you're also often sharing some beautiful selections from regions in Darjeeling, etc., with us. So
yeah,
yeah, amazing.
Darjeeling, Assam and stuff. Yeah.
Awesome. And Neha, right?
Yeah,
Is that how?
I'm allergen. Yeah, and I manufacture some handmade teas at a small tea garden in Bihar. we make white, black, green, and oolong teas.
You know, I gotta ask you guys for some of those. I've been really interested in white teas recently, because there was a conversation that came up about just sort of understanding the relationship between the difference between withering and oxidation, and that's been really fun. So I just straight off the bat, I have a really geeky question for you. I can't go through all of the I I I've been really trying to understand how people on the ground in the field, um, when you're producing teas, and maybe this is a question for Neha, but how do you qualify the percentage of oxidation in your tea when you're producing? Like, how do you, is it all by feel, or is there some sort of measuring tool? Can you like, cuz moisture loss does not necessarily equal oxidation, right? So how do you because I have this, like, I have a really nice so we have maybe we can put it, I have a green diamond or a black fusion. Are these both the Tocklai cultivar?
Yep, same
Yeah.
cultivar.
So when you're changing, I mean, obviously green teas and crimson teas or black teas are made differently, but
Yeah.
and you're gonna smell it, you're gonna see it, but is there a way of measuring when you've reached the ideal moment, or is it all feel?
I go by feel.
You go by
I
feel,
don't have, yeah, because weather conditions and everything else differs. So the
right?
main factor is the weather conditions. So
Right.
everything has to be. There is a lot of people. There are a lot of people who do a lot of like in a very scientific way. But then I go for my teas. I've always been going by feel,
Right. Okay.
by the
So
smell, by the feel of it, by the look of it.
what is it that you look for? Like, if you want to make, say, a distinction between, you guys have that beautiful, what was that oolong that you have, that you made a
The
while?
rolling thunder.
Yeah, that was awesome. So that Rolling Thunder, and say like what you guys call your Black Fusion, um, and I call Tocklai by Doke. What do you, what how do you like, how do you make that distinction between them? What is, again, is it just feel? You're like, oh, this is kind of oolongy, and this one is kind of crimsony, and it's just drawing from experience, or like, is there a smell that you're looking for? Like,
Yeah.
what is it that?
It has to have a certain smell and it has to have a certain color for it to know. Okay, now this is done and I can go into drying now.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was reading a little bit about how, like, in some regions of India there's such thing as a hard wither, where the drying period is quite fast, and therefore there's not as much of an opportunity for the polyphenol oxidase enzyme to actually transform the leaf. And so
That's from Darjeeling.
yeah, right. So exactly, in Darjeeling, the hardwood, or up in Nepal, right? But I imagine in Bihar it's a lot more tropical, no? So you have probably the opposite problem. It's probably hard to dry it, I would imagine. And I guess how hot it is and how humid it is going to have a big impact on the flavor from season to season and year to year. How do you how do you, like last year, I think I was cupping all my teas wrong. I was drinking them a little bit too hot, and I think that I needed to experiment a little bit more with cooling down the water temperature a bit for the because I remember the first year I had the Black Fusion from you guys. I made it with boiling water, and it wasn't like it was burnt, but there was just not a lot of aromatics. But then when I made it with 80 degrees water and I used a little bit more tea, I got out so much more body, and it was such a delicious tea. And I was like, and the reason why I gave it another chance is because I cold brewed it, and the cold brew was so good that I was like, okay, there's something wrong with my preparation. And so it just made a big difference, to sort of be a little bit more experimental. But then the next year, 80 degrees didn't taste so good. 90 degrees was better. But then 90 degrees was great for 3 years in a row. But then last year I couldn't quite make it work, and I was so busy and it was so crazy that I couldn't, But then this year I'm excited to drink them again. What are some things that might be changing from year to year? Is it just temperature and humidity, or what are some other things that might be affecting how these teas change from year to year? And I think change from year to year is a very good thing, by the way. I don't think it's a flaw. It's a part of the fun. But yeah, what?
I think the main factor right now is the weather.
Okay, that's big. So humidity and temperature outside.
Yes.
Okay. I, we were visiting a facility in Mandokoro in Japan, and it was a much smaller. I think I was writing Vivek. I was like, this is what they're doing here. I'm curious what you guys do at Doke, and we were kind of trading recipes back and forth, and it was really really interesting. But they have like a hand roll, like they do everything by hand except the rolling part. The rolling, they have a machine doing the rolling. Um, but when they went to go in, they were doing, but they were putting everything on these big analog scales, and they were measuring their like a big kind of batch of tea on a big scale, and then they would put it on these raised beds, and then they would dry it, and then they would take it off and they would weigh it again, and if they were within a particular like a goal of moisture loss, then they would take it to the next step. Is this similar to what you do? And if so,
We don't weigh.
you don't weigh.
We only weigh it once when the tea leaves come from the farms.
Okay.
So we get weigh it only once. After that, it's all by feel.
Okay. Yeah, there's another company in Japan that we visited where the father is all about doing it by feel. He thinks when you measure things, it's like it's a waste of time. So he, you grow your, and I understand this with tea too, right? Like with tea, some people make tea, most people make tea by feel, right? Like they get connected with it. They like look and they go, okay, this is about how much tea I need. But I think that when I make tea, I don't know, maybe it's a problem I have, but I love weighing things, and so I weigh the tea, and then I weigh the extraction, and well, I don't weigh the extraction,
I'll
I weigh
tell
the
you
tea.
something.
Sorry, what's that?
I'll tell you something.
What's up?
Like in India, our interaction with tea is almost about 200 years old. Your interaction with tea is maybe 20 years,
No, not
25,
even. Yeah,
30,
I'm
50 years.
a young Padawan learner. Yes.
Yes, young entrepreneurs. But the people in Japan, their interaction with tea is 800 years,
Right.
and in China, about 2,000 years in a row.
Right.
So those people, when the tea manufacture started or whatever the tea processing started in China, there were no instruments.
Right.
It was very difficult to find even steel or iron or the instruments. So what they had was maximum stone,
Right.
and with that stone only they could do anything. So what they were doing is they were just taking the leaf, they will watch the leaf, they'll see what kind of moisture in this. Like if you take tea wine, that's a very hard leaf. It's very difficult to extract the juice. So you know that how much pressure they put on that. They just regulate it and then they take. But if you take Longjing, it was so succulent. They don't have to do anything. They just press the moisture out, and it is just taking the shape. So from one spectrum to another end, this is nothing but the moisture in the leaf, texture of the leaf. And from that, they just calculated, what sort of, they never said withering or oxidation or anything. That was only the removal of moisture from that leaf. And while doing it, they were taking out some flavors.
Right.
So this was all by the nose and the motions of hands. They were by the motions of hands, they were bringing the air, cold, hot, or whatever, and then they were just taking everything moisture every time.
Right.
Sometimes, like in Japan, they were doing this all the 8 hours, and with the body heat only, he was making those black needles, So everything by feel, that 2,000 year people or 800 years people. But we people, which is 200 years, we also did it the same way, the feel, and then the heat. The difference was the heat. India was very, very hot.
Right.
And then we started making a little more leaf because there was too much of production. Then we invented some machines, just heavy machines, and made tea. Now at Doke, we are doing everything artisanal, everything by feel. Even our workers, we are teaching, how to take the feel and then do the rolling, then do the fermentation, then do the withering, and then make the tea.
Right.
All by feel.
Right. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I guess I've been doing this. You guys were guests on the tea festival, that kind of online marathon symposium where we had, I think 2 years ago there was 24 hours of tea. Um,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and you guys were one of our guests that time, and I think it was 3 in the morning in Victoria, and it was kind of in the afternoon for you guys, and you kind of toured Doke, and we got to see some live footage of a production, and that was really exciting. But one of the things that I really my takeaway from that was that we got to have people from Japan, people from China, people from locally here. But the big thing is that I think there's a definitely an encouragement to get a sense of the feel of being able to do things intuitively, to build up an experience level where you can make a really good product by feel. Um, and yet for me, I'm just like, I know that I'm not there yet because I'm only 20 years. I'm not 200. I'm not 800. I'm not 2000. So I guess maybe I'm wanting to also say, like, it wouldn't it be interesting if we could be a little bit more not more. It would be just interesting to understand things on a scientific level too. I just find it so interesting. I love intuitive, like even for healthcare. Like I love traditional medicine. I love herbal medicine. Yet at the same time, I'm very interested in this sort of uh, Western medicine styles, etc. Like I think there's lots of takeaways from these different perspectives. So I like to tell myself it's not that one is better than the other. I don't think that, for example, with making tea, like not with like manufacturing it like you guys, but like making a cup of tea, I think that weighing the leaves is very helpful for my wholesale customers because the staff are quite young. They're maybe they've only been making tea for like 3 months, and then they're serving it to somebody. And how can I, as a supplier, feel that the tea is going to taste good? And how do they have confidence? And so what I do is here I do things by feel at first, but then I weigh out what I'm doing, and then I share a recipe with them, and then they're able to reproduce what I'm doing here. Now, the reality is that they're going to have different water than me. They're going to have different vessels than me. They're going to have maybe what's some other things that come into mind? Well, there's just going to be a lot of variables that are different at their cafe than they are here. But still, it's kind of nice to be able to give them something. So, like, when you go to make tea, like when you manufacture tea, do you think there might be a benefit to? Is it just better to do everything by feel, or do you think that there's a benefit to weighing or understanding certain components of it?
Initially when you're doing a lot of experiments, it is always good to weigh and do it everything scientifically, because then because when you're doing say about 10 experiments,
Yeah.
and then at the end of the day when you have the cups ready, when you're testing it, then you realize, okay, why did this one click? So
Right.
then you can see all the differences that you made.
Right.
Okay, this was the difference. Like, maybe I withered it for a little bit longer, or maybe I rolled it for a bit longer, or maybe so that at that time it does make a difference. And then you
Right.
have to go scientifically. But then when you've got your process, and when you've have a very basic thing,
Hmm.
then it's always good to go by feel, because
Right.
then weather changes. Then you have to do everything according to the weather.
Right. And you need to make those
People are very
adjustments.
influenced by that.
Yeah, because we don't use machinery. So
Yeah.
we don't have
Makes
that
sense.
option. So we have to go everything by, it's either the feel or how it smells.
But it's also a choice, right? Like, I mean, I'm sure that the machinery could be fairly expensive, but I
Yeah.
think that your goal also is for artisanal teas. Like, you're making a
Yes.
choice to do this, and
Yes.
there is something that you lose when you have a machine do everything, right? Because
Yes.
it's not able to take into consideration, you know, maybe if it was made by Elon Musk, it would be different. I don't know, but but you have this idea that the machine um, can't really account for temperature and humidity changes in the same way that a human being can. Because even if it could those, there's still also just the cultivar that you're working with, and you know, and the just the consistency of it that year, and the nutrition that it received that year, and there's just going to be changes from year to year that are
Yeah.
on top of the temperature, humidity, and all of that, right? Like that stands to reason. Um, so then okay, that comes back to another question I had for you guys then. What um, what is so I was looking into this because I thought it'd be really interesting to be able to measure oxidation. I was just really fascinated by this idea because I was watching these people in Japan weighing the leaves, and I just kind of over the literature that I'd read, I just kind of had this understanding that the oxidation was a result of how long you let something dry out. So if you were like, say, if you lost 80% of the moisture, sorry, 20% of the moisture, and then you went to the massaging sort of
Right.
crushing step, and then after that you dried it some more in sort of a fermentation room with like temperature control and all that stuff. Then you get this very specific tea, and then at the end you would do kind of like a firing. I thought that was a very kind of consistent way to do it, but at the same time, how do you really know? Like when we make kombucha here, and we always measure the because it changes every time we make it. Um, the the amount of time that it needs to achieve that ideal endpoint. But what we do is once we get to a certain point, we start measuring the bricks and the pH, so we can understand how much the pH, the acidity level, but also the residual sugars, because of course it's going to consume the sugar and it's going to create carbon dioxide. That's how that reaction works for the for the for the for the kombucha. So I was talking to a friend and I said, in tea, like, and he said, why not just use a pH meter? How would that even be possible? Is that something that somebody's done, or is that a wild idea, or does it make it?
pH measurement at the different stages of manufacture is not being done uh, by anyone. I have not seen.
Hmm.
pH is done for the soil. This thing,
Hmm.
whether the
Yeah, that
soil
makes
is
sense.
fit, whether the soil is fit or not, or if there is something discrepancy or something, some deficiencies, then we put certain things to make up for the pH and all.
Right.
pH is only required. I mean, the parameter, which is the conduction of the nutrients to the bush and the manufacture of the leaf on the top
Well,
hem.
right,
So
because
once you have the harvested leaf,
yeah.
it is only the moisture now which has to be taken out and reduced. And during the process, you are developing the flavors.
Which
So
makes
there
sense.
the yeah, so there the measurement of pH is not necessary. But what you're talking about is the oxidation.
Hmm.
That's a uh, very careful measurement which you do by eye estimation.
Hmm.
Instead, if people are doing it mechanically, then they have got so many meters, and
Hmm.
they are finding out what's the agrometry, and what's the temperature, what is the other things like that. They do it.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes
That's also
sense.
one thing. They will explain that they want to give the consistency, and for that consistency, they are putting so many meters. They're doing the measurements, temperature, maintaining the records, and all that. That's a very cumbersome exercise.
Hmm.
Whereas if you really want to do it by estimation
Hmm.
and by your dose, then it's much more like an art.
Yeah, no, I'm of the firm belief that art and science are actually connected.
Yeah.
That scientists who don't have an artistic heart are just kind of, it's just it doesn't even really, I don't know. I think there's it's when you have sort of an artistic idea and then you use scientific principles to measure it and just kind of showcase it. That's so much more interesting than just doing science for science's sake, you know. But I think it would be really fascinating. Do you mind if I like let's make this crimson tea? I'm gonna take a pH. I just randomly, and then I want to take a pH of the green tea that we make too, and then just for fun. Is this cool?
Yeah, why
Yeah.
not?
Okay. So let's talk about the tea though first. I have I have a I have a tippy. I have a black. It's called Black Fusion Tippy, which we would call as Tocklai by Doke. And we also have a Black Fusion that's not a tippy. we have a Doke green diamond and a Doke green diamond tippy. So these are your green, and in North America we say black tea, right? And I think in India you do as well. But in Japan and China, Korea, they say red tea. So we call it crimson tea at JagaSilk. I'm just going to quickly go get my my pH meter. I still have you in my headset. Can you explain to the audience a little bit about these teas, these 4 teas, if you could explain to them the difference?
Okay.
Is
So
what
we
what?
manufacture. Yeah. So the 2 teas that we have sent, it's actually we have sent you 2 teas. The tippy is just we have given you a finer version of both the teas.
Okay.
So there's a lot of tips in those teas. So the Black Fusion, you'll find a lot of in the Black Fusion tippy, you'll find a lot of tips in that one, and in the Green Diamond tippy, you'll find a lot of tips in that one. So
Okay.
it's going to be a little bit finer.
So is it just an earlier harvest? Is that, or is it just a separated harvest?
It's just sieved.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's
So that's why now the Black Fusion looks a little bit cleaner.
right, because the tippy
Doesn't have-
and
it
the Black
doesn't
Fusion
have
use
as many smaller particles in it nowadays.
fair. Okay. So I got myself a pH meter, and I got myself a this is a this is good for measuring bricks. It's this company. It's called Atago. Here, sorry, the audience can't see, but so it's called Atago, and you just put a drop of the liquid on there, and it's going to give us a bricks measurement, so we can see the total dissolved solids. It's going to tell us kind of the TDS of the tea, which will be interesting. So you'll know if, you know, what's kind of interesting is you'll know if my water is making a bad extraction. If you did a TDS too, then you'd know that I'm just doing a bad job. we could prove that I'm just bad at making tea. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna make then. So that means that 3 years ago, before Tippy, the before the Tippy released, the Black Fusion was a blend of what you have of those two.
It wasn't a blend. We didn't do anything with it. We just produced it and then we sold it off. So right now what we're doing is we're just sieving so we have a finer version of it, and then we have the normal version of it.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah. All right. So I have different preparation sort of vessels I could use. Do you suggest that I use just a little teapot like this? Do you think I should use a gaiwan? What do you think is best for making? Let's start with the. Well, you tell me. What tea should I start with of these 4?
I think the Green Diamond tippy you can start with.
The green tippy.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that one. So I'm going to start with. What temperature do you recommend?
85.
55?
85.
85.
85. Okay. All right. I can do that. 85. Okay. So I'm just setting my kettle here. Okay. And then gonna have to add some cold water. Sorry. Excuse me. And do you guys, when you're making the tea, do you weigh the tea, or do you do that by feel, or do you have a suggestion for how many grams I should use for how much water?
We do weigh the teas. We use about 2 grams of tea.
2 grams. Okay. Awesome. And also I'm gonna make it the way that you recommend. And then how much water do you put on that 2 grams?
About 150 ml.
About 150? Okay, amazing.
Yeah.
All right, let's weigh this out. So I'm gonna have to preheat that. And we're gonna do 2 grams. Okay. And they look really good. How are these parched? Like, are they pan fired to get the when you do the kill green?
No. Steaming.
Steaming. These are steamed. Cool. Okay, that's like Japan. Awesome.
Yeah. But it's in a more Indian style.
Okay. So what does that process look like when you're steaming them? Is it like in just like big vats, then you just put the tea in the top and there's like steam coming up and you just, and how long do you steam them for? Like they say in Japan there's a big difference between 30 seconds and 45 seconds.
Yeah.
What's
We
your
we do it for about 30 seconds, but we
20
use it
seconds?
in very small batches, maybe about 500 grams per batch,
Okay.
and put in a mud pot.
I can't
So we
find the.
have bigger pots. We have a bigger pot underneath the mud pot.
Yeah.
There's water in it, and then we put the mud pot on top, which
Okay.
has holes in it, and then it just that's only for 30 seconds.
How long should I brew this for? What time should I steep it for? Like 2 minutes, you think? 30 seconds? 5 minutes?
2.5 should be good.
2.5. Okay, all right. 2.5 minutes. All right. Doing it. I'm doing it, guys. Okay. So, 150. It's happening. Okay. And then, since I don't want to keep you here all night with me, I'm going to start making the next one at the same time, if that works for you. Are you guys going to be having tea too, or is it too late for you?
It's a little bit too late
A
for
little bit
us.
too late. What time is it over there? I had.
It's just about 12 o'clock. Just
Oh,
about
okay.
midnight.
Yeah.
Past midnight.
Okay. Yeah. We were planning this together. I was trying to get it before midnight for you guys, like around 10 o'clock. But I guess again, I'm sorry about that. Um.
That's
Okay.
We can't help it.
And Rajiv, thank you for checking and just seeing. That's.
You're welcome.
Oh man.
It's fun doing all these things on the other end of the earth.
Yeah, right. We're connecting the. We're it works.
Very important.
Cool. Okay, good to hear. Okay, so I'm brewing this guy. I'm gonna put him, I think, right over here, and then I'm gonna get another one going. We'll do the same thing. Should I do the same thing for the non-tippy as I did for this one? Is it the same brew setting, same weight, everything?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay, and Vivek, we had a good dialogue back in the day about water last time I think you guys were on,
yes.
and you ended up testing your water. Do you mind letting the viewers know a little bit about the results of that test, just kind of as a follow-up on the last? Do you remember? It- It's so long ago now, isn't it? I should have asked about this before. So. But it was different, right? Like I think you had a different water.
So we had 4 different types of water.
Yeah.
So we had three different kinds of groundwater,
Yeah.
and then we had one filtered.
Okay.
You know, I think the filtered was the one that came out the best.
Like just that would also be interesting to measure, hey, on a for TDS, and do like a
Yeah.
bricks reading on the results of using different waters, so you can see how much each water is extracting, to
Yeah.
understand that would be so cool, hey.
Oh yeah.
But you like the filtered water the best, which makes sense, right? It goes with sort of like this idea that that's the case. But what were you noticing that the other ones were just were any of them unpleasant, or it was just that was the most pleasant?
They were going towards the unpleasant.
Okay.
Not really unpleasant, but they were going there.
But it was in the end of the day, it was the filtered one was the winner, and that one
Yeah.
was good. Okay.
And it was also the most consistent.
Interesting. There used to be big fights for the best spring waters, hey. So I guess the water and the good water for making your tea is been happening for a while. Um, Maki, I have some tea for you if you like it. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna look at this. Could you bring that up for Mew as well? Thank you. All right. Oh yeah. That smells really nice. That's interesting. I like that. When I was drinking it before, I was assuming that I was drinking a parched green tea, and I think I was thrown off by the steamed green tea elements, and I didn't quite understand what I was drinking. And I kept telling people that it's not that I don't like this tea that these guys are making, this green tea. It's that I don't understand it. And I feel like through this conversation I'm understanding it a little bit more, and I'm enjoying it more. It's interesting how that works. Oh, we have Sister Speak joining us, guys. This is my co-host every week. She's joining just quickly from the East
Oh,
Coast.
hi.
She's
Hello.
so Sherri Anne, so we have our friends over at the Doke estate, and we're just we're going through sort of a conversation about 4 different teas that they've sent me to drink. And you have you guys met? I think last time I don't think you were able to make it
Yeah,
on last. Oh, did you met last time?
Yes.
Okay,
I think.
fantastic. Okay, cool. So yeah, we have you're about to go live on your show though, aren't you? You're
Yeah,
moments away
I
from.
just wanted to say hi again. It was fun. It was so fun last time.
Yeah,
It's
no.
about water.
Yeah, we were talking about water last time. That's right. And this time we're talking about pH. So, yeah, it's
Oh,
which is what I need to measure right now. So I'm gonna do that. So I have
cool.
my pH meter, and I'm just gonna undo it here, and we'll figure this out. So the one I just made, I should actually rinse that off. Give me a second. Sorry, guys. I'm afraid of too many wires. I have all these mouse wires and
That's exactly what I was saying.
yeah,
Just like a space station.
yeah. Okay, give me a sec.
When you were just taking the brewed liquor in your mouth,
Yeah,
did you find it tasting like gyokuro?
there's a there's kind of a hint of it kind of reminds me of like a blend between a Japanese sencha and a green tea, a parched green tea from Yunnan. So there's both a parched Chinese green sort of, there's almost like a very mild smokiness to it, um, and but it tastes like, even though these are pretty young trees, right? It kind of has an old bush kind of
Yeah,
smell.
they're just 25-year-old trees.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really interesting. I think that's the best one I've had from you guys for the green teas. That yeah, and I think I've just been not making it properly before. So I don't know that it's been like it's not been a problem before, but I just wasn't following your parameters. So that's on me. Okay, so I'm just measuring the pH here. So right now, what we're looking at is 6.34. Okay, that's pretty alkaline, right? So it'll be interesting.
Yes.
Well, it'll be interesting to see. Oh, that I should show that to the audience too. So, and you guys, can you see that? Okay. So that's
Yeah.
yeah. So that's measuring the temperature as well. And let me see what that probe says. Probe says yeah. So putting the probe in there at the same time. What's nice about this pH meter is that I guess pH changes depending on the temperature, which is kind of interesting. So, they need a probe to kind of balance it out and make the machine work properly. um, okay,
Have you mixed the water already?
did I? Oh, the water before I started. That's a very good question. That's very important, isn't it? Okay, so let's.
Have a control.
Yeah, yeah. Control the. Okay, I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna rinse this off real fast. Okay. So one of the things I was reading when was that, or when it was explained to me that maybe you could use pH for measuring tea oxidation, was that an increase in oxidation is equal to a reduction in hydrogen. And one of my kombucha brewer once told me that pH is actually just measuring a concentration of hydrogen ions. So if you measuring it this way, then you get a chance to see that oxidation. 6.78, because you're able to measure that reduction in hydrogen, which is equal to the oxidation. 6 points. Okay, so yeah, 6.34. I'm gonna write that down. That's interesting. Pen.
I'm gonna be playing. If I come back to Victoria soon, I would love to play around with the different waters, like we talked about last time.
Yeah, right. Um,
And if you add, say, lemon juice to it.
that'd be interesting, hey? Like make a, or like I wonder if you could do cucumber water and make it more alkaline, and just like see if that changes
Yeah.
a crimson tea to taste more like a green. It'd be kind of fun. Okay, so re re like increase that alkalinity. Okay, so I'm gonna do this one 2.5 minutes. This is the standard green. Okay, 150, right?
Yeah.
150. Okay, sweet. So.
Normally, when you're doing it with the other green teas, what's
Mhm.
the pH reading coming?
For the ones that this is the first time I've done this. I've just been kind of exploring this idea for the last like couple months, just trying to understand. Like, cause what I found with kombucha, for example, is that it's really a lot more normal for for the uh, to do kombucha by feel too. So people say that there's too many variables, everything changes. So when you go and you go to brew it, there's no real way of saying, okay, this pH and this Brix is, once you get there, you're done kind of thing. It's not that simple. There's how much growth there is of the SCOBY, and the extraction going in. Like, we've been starting to do things like, we've learned that if you brew with green tea, I think there's too much nitrogen, and so that feeds the SCOBY too much, and so then the development of the fermentation is way too fast. But if you make a kombucha with black tea or crimson tea, it's a lot slower, and oolongs seem to be kind of like right in the middle. So we found that oolongs are quite useful for making kombucha, because they just keep everything really stable. Um, but as soon as you isolate one variable, then another variable changes. Anyways, the reason I bring it up is because by measuring the pH in Brix though all the time, we're starting to see that when we have control over these other variables, or they're really similar from our past data, then when we get to the fermentation, we measure the pH. It's kind of like trying to stay on the road, right? It's like the pH and the Brix let us, instead of going off into like the sand, we get to stay in the lane, and we're able to keep it a little bit more clear, our direction, for the fermentation. So anyways, it would be really interesting if that was possible with like, if I ever made tea, I would love to manufacture tea someday. I think it would be so interesting to be able to have some sort of simple tool, not like a big fancy machine with like all like measuring color and all that, but it would be so cool to have something really simple that could just give me some rough idea of where I was going, that just sort of confirms what I'm tasting. Because I think the tasting, the feel, that's the most important. But it's really nice if you can have a confirmation. Do you know what I mean? That's what I would be searching for anyways. Okay. So this is the green, the standard. Again, that sort of like old tree Yunnan mild smokiness.
Smokiness comes.
Sorry?
Smokiness comes, and that's
Uh,
quite interesting.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, with the green diamond, I've been finding smokiness coming all the time, and
Hmm.
it has become a standard parameter of this.
Interesting. Yeah. This is a lot thinner. The tippy has got a lot more sort of body to it. I think that if I was gonna make, this is more of like a brisk tea, something that I think would taste nice with a meal, whereas the other one is a little bit more desserty. But this still has a really interesting aromatic. I would dose a little higher. I would probably make this a little stronger. Maybe use a little bit more leaf to just because my personal preference. Um, okay. But it'd be interesting though, right? To get a. Do you guys want to try some of this? Yeah, that's the first one. Do you want to say hi? Just wave. My wife's saying hi.
Hello,
There you go.
so nice
She's
to see you.
she's always off the camera, but she is here. She's the other half of JagaSilk. So, yeah.
Okay.
What do you think of that first one? Yeah. Tastes like a parched green tea? Yeah? Okay. It's steamed though, which is interesting. Yeah, it's 20 seconds. It was a 20-second steam, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, in Fukuoka, they do a 45-second steam, and in Kyoto, they often do a 20 to 30-second steam. And so they do like asamushi, chumushi, and fukamushi is kind of the styles. And then, but in what's interesting about fukamushi is they do a deeper, like in Fukuoka, they do a 45-second steaming, but they do a much more, what's the word, they do a harder finish firing. So at the end, they toast it at a hotter temperature, 98 degrees centigrade for about 12 to 16 minutes. They actually start at about 70, and then they raise the level. So when they're finishing the tea, it's a little bit of a harder cook-off. Do you do a firing at the end? Like you steam it, you process it, and and then you dry it. But at the very end, is there like a hot firing that you do in a roaster, or what do you guys do for finishing the tea?
We actually go for a little bit different method. We dry our teas with hair dryers.
Okay. Yes. Oh, yeah. I remember this. Okay. That's awesome. you bring it home, right? And then you like lay it all out, and then you're drying it out, or no? You drink it.
Now what we've done is we've started doing the entire process at the tea garden itself.
That makes sense. Yeah. Fair. Yeah. Cool. And so you're just like you're blowing. So have you tried to put it like I got this that tea roaster that you saw. That was it's been really interesting. I would love to see if I could get some of your tea when it's still not completely done, and it'd be cool to be able to finish it in Victoria, and we could do kind of like a collaboration where there was like a started in Doke and finished in Victoria kind of a friendship tea. Would be kind of cool. Be kind of maybe we could try someday. But we'd have to plan that well, hey? Around harvest time. How do you guys harvest all year, or would you have?
No, we start about mid of February, and by maybe starting of December we finish.
Okay. I'm
About 2 months of sort of maintenance period.
Okay. So that's 2. That's 3? How many is that? I'm losing track.
2 months.
2 months.
About 2 months, yeah.
So this one, the pH is 6.30. So it's really close in terms of the pH. I don't know if you can see that, but yeah. Yeah, 6.31. So it's 0.03 of a difference between them, and that could just be the tools, right? Like I don't know, but apparently a little bit of pH is actually equal to a lot. Because each time it goes up, it's like it's to the power of 100 or something like that. Okay, I'm going to take a quick Brix measurement of these 2 extractions, and then we'll move on to the crimson teas. So, do you have a favorite harvest? Like in Japan, they seem to like the first flushes, but I find in North America, a lot of people like the second flushes. Do you have a preference for your Bihar teas, you guys?
The manufacturing, I prefer the first flush.
You do, eh? Just
yeah.
Is the growing period between the first and the second a lot like shorter?
Very short.
Yeah, really short, right? Yeah. So there's just not a lot of time to build up those volatile oils, right? To make it that much more interesting. But you know, in Japan, they always make their crimson teas when they do make them. A lot of farmers use the third flush because they feel that the first and second flush are too delicate for the process. But that doesn't make sense, right? Like, it's just they don't have the experience, I think, is the problem. Because you can make really good, well, you guys, I mean, Darjeeling, Assam, what you guys are doing prove, of course, that and in China, it's very normal. I don't know why they only use, maybe it's because their third flush teas are not high, they don't get a lot of money for them, and it's a way to add value. I don't know. But it doesn't make sense to me. Does it make sense to you?
Most of Japan, China now, they take first flush, they take second flush, and as you said recently, the third flush.
Yeah.
But after that, they're not plucking. So what happens? The quantity is also less, and then the cost goes up.
Right.
Because they're not taking those very wet leaf and which goes little hard, and then the other than negative things also start cutting. When you take the first cut or the first flush, then the second machine plucking, that's the second flush, and then the third one also, which is little succulent. So you take these three, and by that time July is already there, and
Right.
after that they don't want to do any rain flushes harvesting or what we call the autumn. They just leave that.
Hmm.
So their production is of very high quality leaf only,
Right.
which comes maybe 50% of what we do in India, or even 40% of what we do in India, but their overall quality improves like anything.
Right. No, that makes sense. Hmm. Okay. Yeah. No, it's I sorry, I lost you there. Um, I'm I'm finding that there's definitely different I guess regional specializations, and people get so used to creating a particular style of tea that they kind of get it gets really challenging for them to break out of the mold. And I think I correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think that's a big thing for the Indian tea sort of movement is that there's been so many years, so much history of making black teas that to do what you guys are doing with white teas and creating oolongs and green teas is really kind of um, I can only assume must be really challenging, but at the same time must be really interesting for your customers. But what could you speak to that a little bit? Like while I'm measuring this next bricks, maybe like why do you guys choose to make white teas, crimson teas, oolongs? Why are you doing it?
Basically, see, we have to give our consumer different type of teas,
Okay.
and from every area
Yeah.
you have or you would have a black tea and a green tea, at least two. White is not necessarily a variety of tea everywhere. White comes from some very specific areas only. But everywhere, you know China very well. So you'll find that there is a Longjing, but then by the side of Longjing there is a Chuchu Hongmei. Chuchu Hongmei is the black tea of Hangzhou area, where is the standard green tea. So
Right.
everywhere, you go to Yunnan, you've got a black and green. You go to Huangshan, there is a black and green.
Right.
You go to Zhejiang, there's a black and green, and even Fujian, they have got a black and green, except that the Qiguan area. So every place has got two teas.
Right.
That's according to the body requirements. Like some people like green teas, or especially the ladies, they like green teas. But the
Okay.
men, they always go for the black teas,
Is
like
that all
the
right? Okay.
yancha and all those. So this is the preferences, and for that preferences, you have to have a basket of products. So there's always a black tea and green tea, and if someone can produce white tea also, and some oolong also, like we did, we are giving four so that people, because this is a new tea. So what happens, people worldwide, some people have got the penchant for the oolong tea, some people like white, black, green. So we do that.
So it's consumer driven.
Yeah, it's consumer driven. You
Okay.
see, if you notice what is happening in all over America,
Yeah.
there are, mainly tea growers are there in America, only lower portion, but in Canada also you have got one or two very small ones, but they are also producing two or three type of teas.
Right.
You go to whole of Latin America, you'll find everybody is making at least two teas. Now a lot of people are producing in Europe also. All of them are making at least two or three teas. Recently, we had someone from Lower England, Dartmoor or something. Those people, they have got few bushes.
Hmm.
They got very, very less leaf, but they are also making two or three types of teas.
Interesting.
In
So it's
fact,
just
yeah, they're just making some tea and then they have to name it. So either they call it black tea or green tea or something. But that, you have to have different product when you are having the visitors or the people who want to understand what is tea. They have to be shown this is black tea, this is white tea, this is green tea, and then they always show that yellow tea is also sometimes. So this
Interesting.
is a full what you call the spectrum you have to show.
You know, that's fascinating. I think, I mean, as a consumer, of course, I'm interested in farms making multiple styles of tea. Um, and I guess it helps to have different selections. One thing that I've found that's interesting with, like, my main specialty is matcha, um, is that when I buy different cultivars from the same farmer, it gets quite interesting. So it's kind of fun to talk about. I think a lot of times when we're buying from a farm, we just want more options because there's a lot of reasons. I think just an interest in different flavors. Um, have you ever considered having like a Tocklai and a different cultivar as well? So like you're growing, say like you make the black fusion style, but you use different cultivars, and it's like a wine. Like I love the idea of like a winery. You know, like they're making the same red wine, but they'll do like Pinot Noir and Cabernet Sauvignon. It would be really interesting to do like a Tocklai and like an I don't know what else would work in Bihar, but you know how like in Darjeeling, there's the Ambari and the Bannockburn and the what is that, the Fub Sering and all that, all those fun ones. Like it would just be so interesting to taste different cultivars from the same farm. Be kind of an interesting direction.
See, it all started like this. That when we came to Bihar, it was quite by surprise. They had a problem of migration of their people. They wanted to reverse that, and then they offered us the lands, cheap lands, so that we could do the planting, and then against those people who were running away, and then stop that migration. At that time, we got entangled only into the cheap lands, very
Right.
cheap lands, and the moment we started buying those lands, then a lot of people started coming to us for employment. So we
Interesting.
were just
Cool.
buying anything which was made ready at the moment for planting. And most of that was only one cultivar that was 25, 26.
Right.
And that's the very easy to grow. As the rate of failure is almost nil and
Right.
very easy to get the cuttings. So everybody was doing that, and we were just running to do the planting like it happened, when he came to India. When he came to Darjeeling, no one had any knowledge of
Sure. Yeah.
cultivars, and their race was against the time only to plant something on those slopes so that they could check the soil erosion.
Sure.
They just so the collection of planting material is hardly anything. But
Hmm.
now, after about 25 years, now we are realizing that if we have different clones, like the purple tea, which is not very difficult in India, like tea with 31, 30, that's purple tea.
Yeah.
And then there are two or three Assam clones like Tinali.
Yeah.
Tinali is a very heavy tip. If we had the Tinali, then we would have been making very good quality, like the by how engine, that
It,
big, yeah, the Fujian type of thing. And then there are other Chinese clones,
I
which
have
can.
I have a Tinali right now from Kanoka through you guys. That's really interesting. Like very like we it's a CTC, so it's not like an exciting full leaf tea, but like it does the job and it's really good. It'd be yeah, that'd be
It's very
really
vegetable. I mean, it's very vegetative.
right.
But then its look is wonderful.
Hmm. But it'd be yeah, I think there must be different ways of working with these different teas and these different cultivars in the different regions. But I guess for the Bihar region, which is close to sea level, it would be really interesting to work with different cultivars that do well in the Assam Valley, right? Because is it a similar climate or is it really different from Assam?
It's very different. What had happened, as I told you, that 1912,
Right.
1912, that's about 110 years ago,
Yeah.
a portion of land was separated from Bengal, and it was declared as Bihar because of the different type of people living there. And something unfortunately happened on the other end of that. There was a very big earthquake, and then the only important bridge on that
Right.
river was broken, and then they got cut off. So
Right.
then we had a parcel of land, about 4 or 5 districts just below Nepal. Basically, they were ruled by Nepal till there was a agreement between the British and then the Gorkhas.
Right.
And so that portion, that strip which was ruled by the Gurkhas was handed over to the Indian uh, rulers, and they could not establish the administration into those. So we had a parcel of land which was neither ruled properly. There was no industry, there was no agriculture because there was no water. Everything had drained. It
Right.
was in a very bad shape. We, since last 25 years, have been repairing that. It's a big job, and we are facing very dry soils which is totally depleted of water, nutrients, and other things. So we are doing a lot of correction. Now
Interesting.
government has come forward to give us free electricity, free irrigation, and so many other things
Cool.
to do the correction in the crops and the soil and the all the mechanism and the chemistry of soil. But something has happened. The sweetness of the black fusion is because of that very hot soil
Right.
which were left. The total the biomass of that or the microorganisms which were there in that soil, they had dried. Now we have got something very unique,
That's really
which is giving,
interesting.
yeah, the one very senior, one very renowned agriculture institute called Pusa Institute. They are doing the research on that. They just recently came, and they have declared as a very technologically advanced people.
Hmm.
So then they are taking us as the model of total Bihar, and we are being studied, and then we are finding that sweetness of those black fusion is coming because of those hot soils which were there since last at least 50
Interesting.
years.
I wonder if it has something to do with the root structure. By not having immediate access to water near the surface, the tree is forced to produce roots that go down a little bit deeper, and by going down deeper, it accesses nutrients that are going to
Yeah.
create a more complex flavor profile. That's that would be really interesting to see. Have you ever had to take out a tree and seen how deep the roots have gone, or I hope you've never had to do that. But how am I making this tea? Before you answer that question, I'm making the. Speaking of the Black Fusion, what we call Tocklai, by Doke. How many grams? Same 2 grams, or do I do more of the
Same
same?
grammage, same water. I think slightly higher temperature water.
So do I do 90, 95, 100? What do you think?
90 should be good.
90. Okay. All right. Okay. Sweet. So I'll do that. And will I make the other black tea from you guys the exact same way, or do I change it?
I think it should be good to just
You know,
go the same.
some interesting data for you guys then. The pH on the first one was 6.34. The second one was 6.31. The bricks, though, was 0.7 on the first one and zero point 0.1 on the second one. So I must have done something weird. I didn't have much of an extraction coming out of the second one. So it's kind of interesting, just to see the total dissolved solids. So I think there might have been room to take that extraction longer or to dose higher so that I could achieve a similar bricks to the first one. And then I'd probably improve the body. This should be really fun. I've never done this before, but this would be kind of interesting to measure the finished extraction so I can see, okay, that tastes great, and then I can kind of record what the bricks is. And then if I think it tastes thin and I record the bricks and say if the bricks is lower, then maybe that's, and then if I can somehow change the extraction so that I can get that higher, it'd be a really cool way to sort of qualify what I'm tasting. So yeah, it's kind of fun. And it's going to be interesting to see the extraction here too. Now, I only asked for your guys' time for an hour, and we've reached the hour. I'm about to make these teas. Do you guys need to go right now, or do we have time to drink these two teas together, or where are you at with your schedule tonight?
We can do these two and then.
These two, okay, and then we'll call it a night. Okay.
No problem.
Okay, all right.
You can make us sit another 2-3 hours.
Oh, geez. Okay. Okay. I will. I'll try to move quickly. You guys need to get your. Everybody needs to sleep. You know, it's when we rejuvenate ourselves.
Such chances do not come, very often. One must present, teas and discuss about them. It's very important. After at least 2-3 years.
Sorry.
We are meeting after 2-3 years, I think.
Yeah. We are meeting up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. It's gonna I'm going to go there, or you guys are going to come here. Is that what's going to happen?
No. We met.
Okay.
2 years ago.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, it's not every day we are meeting.
I see. So you're saying it's a special occasion. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, no, I feel that too. I really appreciate that you guys are making this time, and it's always a pleasure and an honor really to have you on. So yeah, huge gratitude.
Any event with America or Canada is always at midnight or little very early in the morning,
Well,
it's very interesting.
There's an event happening here in the little bit later in the day, which is not a good thing for you, I guess. But it would be your early morning, perhaps. I don't know if you're interested, but we'd love to have you on for the society that I'm a part of, the Tea Society. They're doing a tea festival again this year on October 22nd. So I don't know if you might.
Yeah, I have heard of it.
Okay, so maybe if you're interested, we'd love to. What we're gonna do is we're renting a theater, and we're gonna have it where there can be an audience this year. So the audience will be watching the symposium, but
we'll do that.
Yeah,
Which date? Which date?
October 22nd.
October 22nd is Ocha Festival in Shizuoka. I will be there, but they will be here.
Okay. Vivek, Neha, are you interested in joining the... Yeah? Okay, amazing. Okay, cool. All right. Wonderful. And you know what, Rajiv, we often have people joining us from the Teatopia Tea Festival in Kyoto. They come on our tea festival as guests. So a festival joining as a festival. Maybe...
What time it will be if we do that on the Zoom? And Shizuoka time?
Yeah, we have guests anytime between 12 p.m. our time all the way to 6 p.m. our time. So it's very.
Okay,
we'll try.
I'll talk to my partner.
Okay.
And I'll let you know tomorrow itself.
Amazing. You're the best. Okay.
What time will it will be yours?
12 p.m. Maybe we can have you on like first or something, just so it's early enough. So this is the tippy.
The color is beautiful. I would like to take a photo of this.
Okay. I'll hold it up to the camera. How's that?
Beautiful color.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm smelling kind of like an apricot thing. Sweetness, sugar.
Do you find maple?
I see maple.
Because this tea has been always associated with maple syrup.
You know, I get like a stewed tomato, like a sweet tomato, and then there's this kind of like this gently cooked brown sugar, which is probably the maple that you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I like that. Again, I think the finish is a little bit watery. I think I would probably try it a little hotter with my water. My water is going to be different from your water, so. But the cups.
Yeah, your water is very clean, very clean.
The cup smells amazing. Yeah, I once told one of my staff if I'm ever dying, at the end, just put a used teacup right to my nose, and this is how I want to die. So, okay, um, this is amazing. Okay, I'm gonna measure this. Okay, so we'll get this in a cup here. Okay. And that is, yeah, that's a noticeably lower pH. So that goes with we had a hypothesis going in that crimson teas would have a lower pH than green teas, and that is correct. So we're sitting at 5.57. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we can see that.
Okay, awesome.
5.5.
That's a very, very noticeable difference in pH. So interesting. Sorry, just my computer's decided to crap out a bit. Okay, I'm gonna rinse that off, put it back in here. Okay, I'm gonna take a quick bricks measurement on that too. So I think I need to recalibrate this. I pressed the wrong button. I pressed the calibration button. Give me 1 second. Okay. Gotta get some water on it. The nice way to do this is definitely to just make sure I have nice clean water. Okay, that has been okay. Gonna redo that bricks measurement. Give me 1 sec. Okay, let's see what this all right. So yeah, it's not giving. Something's wrong. I did a mistake. I pressed the wrong button and I calibrated it wrong. And so it's giving me a negative bricks, which is impossible. So we'll just ignore the bricks measurement. I'll tell you guys later once I figure out what I'm doing wrong here. And then I'll let you know what the result is. Actually, I have a analog bricks meter that can work. Have you guys ever seen these? You can just it's a really easy tool because you can just put the drops on the light sensor here, like a couple drops, and then you put the lid over, and then you just look through the light, and it lets you know. Yeah, that's 0.6 bricks. Okay, that's interesting. You know why that's interesting is that. Sorry, what was that? What was that?
It's very interesting.
Yeah, right. It's we're getting data now that's like kind of fitting the sensations. Because I love tasting it and seeing, like, first using my instincts and then going back and using a tool to measure to see if that instinct is correct. It'd be really, like when buyers are buying fruit, right? They have such a different experience buying it if they've had spicy food before they buy it, or if they've had like something sweet or something bitter before they buy it. So a lot of the times they actually just take drops from the fruit and put it on a Brix meter, and then they can see the internal sugars, right? Be really interesting to if there's some way to do that with tea, hey, where it's like it must taste good, but it'd be just kind of a way to confirm.
How much does it cost?
The Brix meter, that one was about $60. And then the digital one is about $400. So the digital one is a lot. But the company is really good. They're called Atago. And I was kind of looking around and trying to find something that was going to be a little bit more dependable, because I hate buying equipment that just isn't dependable. but I've been doing that even with my matcha. I mill on behind me, right? But to be a technically correct matcha, it needs to be less than 10 microns. And so, I taste it and I go, okay, that tastes correct. We've been drinking matcha but our company's only like 18 years old. So, these people that have been doing matcha for multiple generations, and they're, going to have it in their blood, being able to taste. So I don't really have I don't have that level of experience. But I taste it a lot and I drink it a lot, so I feel pretty confident when I'm like, yeah, this tastes like a good matcha. I feel confident. But I have this grind gauge. You make a sludge and you actually you run it down the gauge, and then it lets you know that your micron measurement is a particular micron. So I'm able to prove that, like I can taste it, it tastes correct, and then I use the tool to confirm that that's true, so that I have something really like scientific, and I'm kind of using both worlds to qualify that experience. I guess is it lets me cheat a little bit because I'm so young in the business, anyways. Okay, so if I take this last one, I'm gonna make it the same way, 90 degrees, just so.
Maybe slightly hotter water now.
Well, you think so for this one? Okay.
Slightly hotter.
Like 93 or 95? What do you think?
Let's try 95.
Okay, 95. Okay. All right, doing 95. Yeah, when I make this tea, at the beginning it was 80 that tasted good, then 90 was great, and then I've been making it 100, and then last year I wasn't able to find the right setting for it. So this is and then we're gonna do 2 grams, you said, for 150?
Yep.
Did I preheat that? No, I didn't. All right. Thermal stability, right? Okay. I'm doing 2 grams. And I have to say, you guys, the leaves look so beautiful. Every year, that never changes. Is just how, like, the leaf appearance is just so gorgeous. And that's really hard to find. So
I think you like the second flush more.
you think so? The second flush or this one here? Okay. Oh, that smells so good. Yeah. That's like, you need to smell this. Can you smell that? Doesn't it smell amazing? That smells really good. That smells like chocolate. Yeah, that's really, really good. Okay.
She could smell through the.
Sorry?
She could smell through the mask.
Yeah. I can't hear you. One more time.
It's very good. She could smell through the mask.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. So she was able to do that through the mask. That's right.
That's something too much. No.
Yeah.
Corona has made different.
That's right. It's the aromatics are smaller than Corona. That's right. Okay. I'm gonna do.
Just like Japanese, they smell the tea from the plastic containers.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. No, it's kind of amazing. It's superpowers, man. Okay. I'm doing 150 grams at 95 degrees centigrade. Okay. And then I'll be able to do this. Yeah. When I'm making, honestly though, like when I'm making tea at home, I used to just do everything by feel. But now at home even, I weigh my tea, but I don't really weigh my water because I know what I'm using. Like for example, if I'm using a Gaiwan, I know that's 80 mils. So I'm just gonna dose according to what I know it is. And these guys filled to the top are 210. So if I love, honestly, if I'm gonna make this again, which I will, I'm probably gonna try it with 3.5 grams for 210 because this teapot is 210. So then I'll have no space in the top of the teapot, and I'll be able to have like a good trapping of those aromatics. And I think that's gonna. What'll be cool though now is that I can then check with the Brix meter if the teapot, you know, wouldn't that be cool to test side by side as like 2 grams 150 where it's not full, or and then the same ratio of tea to water but where the teapot's full, and all you're testing is just the room in the teapot. I think that'd be really fun. And then you could see like, are you extracting more because of a more ideal extraction environment? So our senses say it will be higher on the Brix, but we don't know, right? So I think that'd be really cool. Okay.
Numbers are always interesting.
Sorry?
Numbers are always interesting.
I know. I don't know why. I think I'm a number freak or something, but I think that they're just kind of like, they're just kind of fun. Yeah. And I think that it's fun when you can like create an extraction that's really exciting and then have a tool to measure that there is a scientific reason for why you find that exciting. You know, it's just like it's almost like a confirmation loop, you know? Yeah. Okay. So we're at 6 seconds. It's the last one. You guys have been amazingly patient, and we're sitting at, what time is it right now in Bihar? Are you in Bihar?
This is Siliguri, Bengal.
It's about 1 o'clock.
Nothing much.
Okay.
Because I have had half an hour sleep.
Okay.
I'm woken up.
Oh, well, you guys are troopers. Okay, so gonna.
Nice cup.
Yeah,
nice
that's looking good, hey? So that's you
I
guys.
I can smell now, Jerry.
Yeah, you can smell that. Here, I'll put it right up there. It is. Yeah, through the. Yeah, it's good. You could even through a mask. It's, you know, that's quite.
The internet connection is good today, so you can smell.
That's right.
This is
it's a new
AI
thing.
now.
Yeah.
The next one.
It's
The next step of
next,
AI.
Next step of AI. You can smell through the webcam. That's, you know, that smells a lot more vegetal than I was expecting. But no, there's that kind of sugar tomato thing that was in the free one before. Yeah, okay. Let's do this. Do you want to try this? Do you have your cup? Right here? Okay. There you go. Okay, my wife's going to try it too. Okay. All right. That's thinner again. That is a lot thinner. I think my water, I just need to make this stronger. I need to put in more tea, or I'll brew it longer, or I'll brew it hotter. You know, because when I think I mentioned this when I went to England, I made one of the teas we had. It was actually the Tocklai, and it was just so under extracted. It was really frightening. And then when I took it to 6 minutes, and I always made it 3 minutes in Victoria, and it was fantastic. 6 minutes in London, I finally had something that was similar to 3 minutes in Victoria. So there was, the water difference meant that I had to completely restructure my brewing parameters. Otherwise, it was just, there was nothing there. So I think what's likely happening is that you guys have water that's extracting faster and easier than I do. I probably have a little bit more interrupting the extraction for whatever reason. And so I think I just need either hotter or more tea or longer extraction time. And then I'm going to get, because that smell of the dry aroma was fantastic. And it tastes underwhelming, or smells underwhelming, like it wants to really, like it's like a rose that hasn't quite bloomed, you know? It's, But I'm going to do some experiments. That tasted really good, a big mouthful, though, I have to tell you. And it smells so good. Like, I know this is going to be a good tea. I just need to adjust it. You can smell it in the cup. Yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, let's see. I bet you this bricks is quite low, and that the pH is probably quite similar. So, and that stands to reason because there's more surface area in those smaller tippy um, ones, right? Sorry, there's my water. Okay, so let's see. So, any guesses? Any guesses? What's our guess for the bricks? The last one was 0.6. What do you think this one is? 0.4? Yeah, okay. I'm gonna go for point. Yeah, I think that's a pretty good guess. 0.3, I'm gonna say. But we could all. Any other guesses? No?
I think that's it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, that's point. It's between 0.3 and 0.4. Yeah, that's a lower bricks. That's so interesting. Okay, I'm gonna put that as 0.4. I think it is 0.4. And then the I wish I could show you this the same way I can show you the pH, but what can you do? Okay, so I'm gonna rinse that off, and then I'm gonna put this in a cup right here. Okay, and the final pH for the final brew is 5.78. 5.78. So that's 0.5 higher bricks than the tippy. So that makes sense from an oxidation perspective too, right? Because if it has more surface area, it's going to be for the similar amount of time, it's going to be a faster. Yeah, like I think so. Anyways, Yeah, that's 5.85. That's really fascinating. So so we had 6.34 for the first tippy, the green one. Then we had 6.31, and then it jumped down an entire pH to 5.34 for the Black Fusion tippy, and then we had 5.85. And then for the bricks, we had 0.1 for the first one, 0.7 for the second one, 0.6 for the third one, and 0.4 for the fourth one. So the smaller the leaves, the better the extraction for the same amount of time, which is, yeah, it's totally makes sense. And it's exactly what I'm tasting. And all of these, I would say my takeaway today is that the green tea is very interesting, and I want to. And then the tippy I liked with this brew setting more than I liked the fuller one. But I really like the aromatic the best of the fourth one. So I think that I'm gonna kind of play around with it. I'll let you know what I end up doing, and I'll see if I get bricks that's a little bit more in line with the tippy by changing the extractions of the standard. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So that was really interesting. Thank you for joining me on this sort of this experiment as we cupped your teas together.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Cool.
I enjoyed it because I am always very excited to know that how the tea which is produced here is going to act into the different waters, and then your mindset.
Right.
You
Right.
brew the tea according to your mindset.
Right.
So your water and then mindset and the tea. So
Right.
all three things together, they just get into a marriage, and then the result comes out. So interesting.
I would, no, thank you so much. I really appreciate, I really appreciate your guys' attention to detail, and also that you're doing, before we say goodbye, there's something else that really, whenever I'm thinking about how cool it would be to work with Doke this year, there is a sort of there's a social justice element to what you're doing as well, right? Like there's something about donation to profits or some profits to poverty alleviation in Bihar. Is this still happening at Doke, and there's also an organic element? Maybe could we speak to that a bit, and then we could say goodbye, or is that a big question?
So the government is now supporting us for the organic thing.
Yeah.
Uh, they've given us the organic certificate as well, which I think I sent to you.
Yeah. 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 Yes.
These are organic corridors. They
Sorry.
have declared certain organic corridors, and in those corridors, all the tea, the vegetables, and other things will be declared deemed to be organic, like that.
Okay, that's kind of
Ours
awesome.
is run along the Doke river because there is water.
Cool.
The soil is so good. Now they're doing a big experiment on that. We are luckily really good organic.
Hmm. Okay. Cool. And then you also, I understand that Bihar is a poor region, right? You were saying that people leave the region, and I guess you're employing a number of people that work in Bihar. But I could be wrong, and I'm sorry to bring this up at the end, but I seem to remember that you guys were involved in helping with poverty alleviation in Bihar. Is that true, or is that a misunderstanding that I have?
No, that is still going on. That
Okay.
is still going on.
Okay.
So
Awesome.
we
So you're
try and do the best possible.
okay. Awesome. So and then you and then I think it was the people that were rolling the tea back in the day. Neha, you were the main person and your mother as well, but you've now been teaching other people to do it, or are
Yes.
you and you're managing
Yes.
that the quality control portion is what's happening now?
Me and my mother, we were the ones that were rolling in the beginning. But then now that we have a sort of uniformity to it, so
Mhm.
now we are teaching our workers to do it, and we just keep an eye if they're doing it correctly or not.
Amazing. Okay, cool. And then, yeah, that's awesome. Okay, well, I look forward to speaking to you more on. I know I could just keep asking questions for hours and hours and hours, but yeah, we're at an hour and 40 minutes in this episode, and you guys have been amazing. I really appreciate you coming on the show. So if people want to go and look up the Doke Estate, you guys have a web page too, right? It's like Doke Tea. Could you tell?
Doke.com. Yeah.
Doke.com. Okay, so they could go and check out what you guys are doing there, and then they can also we sometimes bring in some selections from you guys, and I hope to do so this year as well. I'm really excited about our cold brew iced tea program this year with it's going to be pasteurized and no sweetener, so you'll be able to really taste the tea without sugar or milk or anything. And I'm gonna be bottling it in champagne bottles, so it'll be something you can bring to a nice dinner. And yeah, I'm really stoked. And we'll put lots of information like soil structure and elevation and the all sorts of geeky numbers. So yeah, and I'll take the bricks each time to make sure that it's a consistent extraction. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on. You guys have a really nice night. Okay.
Yeah.
Very
Okay.
nice.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
we look forward to have a
Oh,
very,
and
very soon to have another this thing. Maybe on October 22nd, I'll just talk to Chitose-san and I'll come back to you.
wonderful.
Timing.
Sounds
Okay. Thank
fantastic.
you. All the best for your success and a lot of extra sales this year.
Thank you. Likewise, likewise. All the best to you as well, and I hope for your great success. And thank you so much, you guys. You take care. Have a good night.
Okay, good night.
Okay.
Good
Yeah.
night.
Bye.
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 Okay, so that was the Lochan family joining me from the Doke Estate in Bihar. Really great dialogue there. It went a little bit over time, actually quite a bit over time, but thank you for those watching today. I hope you can tune in next week. We'll be on back to our regular time, which is going to be at 2 p.m. in the afternoon on Thursday next week. And looking forward to seeing you then. You can go to jagasilk.com and check out the teas that we have. I'm sure that in 2022 there's going to be one of these selections on the menu. And yeah, looking forward to sharing them with you. I'm Jared Nyberg. Again, jagasilk.com. Click the like button if you would be so kind, and subscribe to the channel if you are liking what we're putting out there. And have yourself a fantastic day. Take care. Goodbye.